I've been told that cruising basically is working on your boat in exotic locations. That adage has proven true here in Hout Bay. We got a lot of projects completed, so here's just a few to show you what we've done.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Oh.
So here's what it all originally looked like, except for this stuff that was inside either the boom or the mast. So this would have been hidden, and it's clean and still really pliable. But this stuff that's been sitting out, it's just so stiff from the coal dust, it's hard to move. This one, we actually washed. We thought, well, we'll just wash them all, right? But it just didn't make hardly any difference. And so it's still really, just really hard to move. Southern Ropes is the place you go to replace lines in Cape Town. They are located in Pardon Island, which is a part of Cape Town where all of the industrial supplies are located.
So what I'm doing here to the ends of my rope is when you get them from the shop, they just melt them and they're kind of flared out at the end and they're catchy. So I just heat them up. Squish them down a little bit. Work my way around it until you don't feel an edge on there. You don't want it to be bigger around than the rope itself, where you have a hard time getting it through the clutches. That's good. And then I just make the end fast. So I start with a half hitch. And you want to get the tail of the knot on that first half hitch, and you pull her down tight, and then you turn that half hitch into a clove hitch. You want to be on the other side of the knot for that one, and then you just keep doing that a half hitch. I'll do two half hitches. And I just keep going with the half hitch down the line until I get about a 1/4 inch of line on there. This line is just a sail repair line, and I run it through a wax bar so it makes it last longer. Sometimes I use wax string, but it saved my sail line. And what I do at the end is put a knot in it. Up about a 1/4 inch from the end, then I'll go in right next to the line. Put it up through there. Pull that knot up inside the rope. And just cut the line off tight. And that shouldn't come loose. And that's both ends. They'll go right through the clutches with no problem. That's it. I've done that to all the lines on the boat.
Now it's time to install the main halyard. Here, John has pulled the new main halyard up the mast he is untying it from his bosun's chair and running it through the jack lines. At the top, he cuts off the old line then he takes his thread and he secures the old line to the new line. Here he's using the same sail repair line that he has coated with wax that he did earlier. After both lines have been secured together by sewing, he then covers them with electrical tape.
Okay, pull that halyard, the yellow one. Yep. Pull. Okay. Now just I'm gonna drop you down a line, take the rest of the line off the spool and get to the end and tie a bowline in it.
Here John secures the end of the main halyard to the top of the mast. Here John makes that knot a little bit more secure by stitching it together. Here I am guiding that line while John pulls the rest of the slack through the clutch at the helm. We used basically the same procedure for all the other lines, such as the traveler here and the main sheet, where he stitched the two lines together and pulled the new one through the block and tackles. Now, as you can see, they are all clean. They're really easy to work with, really soft and pliable. And everything runs now back to the cockpit, so it will be easy to handle when someone else, when one person is on watch and the other one is sleeping. It'll be very easy to handle. The only thing that doesn't run back are the second and the third reef. But I'm thinking if you need a second or a third reef, you're gonna need another person awake. One of the survey items that did not get completed was a leak in the master head. When John arrived in Durban, he started doing some investigation and found that it was coming through the rub rail. We sealed the starboard rub rail in Durban, and here we are sealing the port rub rail. First I go along and I rough up the bottom of the rub rail with a little scrubby. Next I brush on the primer for the Zika. Next, John comes through and seals the bottom of the rub rail with the Zika while I wipe off the excess. And then we take a little break. Would you turn it over so I can see the words? Yay, there she is. Our lovely Genoa or Genoa, tomato, I guess. So we've learned that this auto furler should be able to handle 2 sails. So we can do wing on wing Look at how dirty it is. Thanks to the Durban coal. Okay, what do I do, John?
I'm gonna go up on that yellow house once I get this out.
Okay, so be ready to pull that sail up on the yellow halyard.
Huh? If you go the other way, is it 2-speed? What's going on?
I'm resting for a moment. It's very hard.
Alright, I'll just take this then.
Well, I figured it might be better for you to guide it so you know it's guided right.
Here, you go.
John has gone to the top of the mast to remove the line that we lifted the new sail with and attach both sails to the shackle at the top. So here's the old sail on this side from Durban. You can see all the staining. It needed some repairs. And when we sent it in for repair, we asked if it could be cleaned, and he said not without damaging the sail. That coal dust just eats its way right in there. So we thought we're gonna need to do it anyway, and it's quite affordable in South Africa. So we purchased, oh look, there's Wolf and Jack. Hi boys. So we purchased a new one. Here's the new one. Put your sunglasses on. It's beautiful and white. But the cool thing is, which I did not know, I don't know if this is all of the auto furlers or just this brand, but you can see 2 rails. There's a rail here where this the luff of the sail goes, and a second. So there's 2. So we have this sail here and this sail here. That way, when you're in a downwind situation, you can do the wing-on-wing thing with 2 Genoas. John, will these take a higher wind doing wing-on-wing than our Gennaker will?
Yes, because we can put a reef in these.
Okay. So the Gennaker will take up to 15 knots, is that right? John?
Yeah, I'll have to look. I think I thought it was 15, but I think it's 20.
Okay. So 15 to 20 knots for that Gennaker is its limit without the danger of damaging the sail. But you can do quite a bit more with these 2 Genoas, or Genoa, I don't know which is the right word. I've heard it both ways. So that'll be nice for crossing the Atlantic because a lot of it is downwind. We can put these out wing on wing. Have you heard the saying, never paint your entryway and your home? Because once you do that, it just leads to, then you have to paint your living room, and then you have to paint the kitchen, and then the paint looks so good that you have to put all new flooring in, and by the time you're done, you've done a complete remodel. This is much the same. Never replace your Genoa with a beautiful white sail when all your other sails are ugly and dirty, because then you're tempted to replace the other sails too. We got Ullman Sails to give us a quote for a new main, a new stack pack, and a new trampoline. And the prices were a lot better than we'd ever get anywhere in the Caribbean. And most likely, when we ordered them somewhere, they'd be shipped from Cape Town anyway. So we went ahead and decided to replace all three of those. Here, the guys have taken down the old sail and they are removing the old stack pack. And here's the new stack pack that they will now install. Here they install the battens that help the stack pack keep its shape. They prep the new sail to be raised and they properly flake the old sail and fold it up. Now they will pack the old sail into the new sail bag. Now it's time to install the main sail. The next day they came and they brought us a new trampoline. We bought this boat with one 327 watt solar panel on the back and one on the roof of the helm, plus these smaller panels that were on the roof of the cockpit that we were told weren't functioning. John spent a lot of time researching the size of different panels and designing a superstructure that would hold those panels and yet still use as much of the structure that we already had. John found a good stainless steel guy who took the design back to his shop to build it. In the meantime, John dismantled as much as possible. Here is the newly built structure that holds this bracket to mount the new panels. Here you can see the finished product. We put two larger panels here, and then we use the smaller panels on the outside. Including this 170 watt panel that was still working, we have a total of just over 1,800 watts of solar power. When you add that to the two wind generators that can generate up to 600 watts each, we should have sufficient power no matter the weather. After 11 years of washing with a very stiff bristled brush, the boat had a lot of oxidation.
John found this guy who had a whole team that could wash, wax, and ceramic coat the boat so it looks as shiny as this truck does.
Yeah, so I'm Dale Brett Oxy. I'm the owner of Dale's Buffing and Polishing. I started out in 2008. The first step was to do the pre-wash. The pre-wash is just inevitable, it's just to soften everything. The contamination that's floating, the sea air, etc., etc. So then we go to stage 1. Stage 1 is compounding. Compounding is for oxidation, for dullness, for swirls, blemishes, etc., etc. Bear in mind that when doing that, there is no way, unless you wet sand the panel that has good enough clear coat and base, unless you wet sand it, you can get that panel crystal clear. If not, I never tell my customers that I can get 100% perfection, because you can't. The second step is to glaze it. The glaze is what gives that gloss. Now again, here's a perfect example of us working here. On certain areas you will get a very, very deep gloss, but on other areas you might not achieve that. That is because there could have been poor prep work, spray work, sinkages, scuffs, all of that can happen. And then I took the extra step to canuba wax the boat, because I knew it was standing here on the sea, but I also wanted the wax to really pull into the boat. That was the extra step that I took in order to get the results that I wanted to get. Then basically, once we're done with that step, we wipe it down. We've got new cloths, as you can see, very important, and then we ceramic coat it. Now with regards to the ceramic coating, also a very important thing. It's the ultimate protection for any vehicle, for any boat, for any bike, anything. Very important. I always explain to my customers what ceramic coating is that when you do the ceramic coating, it does not mean tomorrow you can go use a dishwasher and wash it, because it's not going to last. But I always advise them on the right stuff to use. In this case, a simple wash and wax will be good, because the wax in there will always just give it the extra barrier. Very, very important for protection and to keep the longevity of the ceramic coating.
Well, if they were taking
But
it back.
the name of my business is Dale's Buffing and Polishing, and my website is www.dale, Dales with a S, Buff, Buff, Polish, polish.co.za.
And I'll put a link to it on the...
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
As part of our acceptance of the boat, we negotiated the replacement of a damaged turnbuckle. As you see here, the new turnbuckle that was installed is much larger than the old one, and it left the rigging super loose and it couldn't be tightened down anymore. The seller was a stand-up guy, so he agreed to pay for the replacement of those turnbuckles. That ended up being almost half the cost of brand new standing rigging, so we went ahead and upgraded to get new standing rigging. The standing rigging is what supports the mast of the boat, so we were not confident enough to do this process ourselves. But watching these guys made it look like a pretty simple process. They're removing the forestay now, and then on the dock they put in a new forestay that runs through the auto furler, and here they are replacing it. Here are the two new stanchions. Those are the wires that go from the side of the boat to the top of the mast. They did about the same process replacing these, but I got none of it on video. Most insurance companies will not insure the rigging if it's older than 10 years. And this, while it was still in decent condition, was 11 years old. So it was worth the price.
I'm getting some new anchor chain. John is pulling out the old chain. We didn't pull out that old chain when we did our survey all the way. And as you get down to the bottom of it, it is rusted terrible. And there's a lot of those links in between there that are completely corroded.
Well, and all of this chain is supposed to be 8 mil, and it's all 7 mil and smaller, so it's corroded that much, all of it.
And what are you getting?
10 mil. It's all the way through, all the galvanized, and to the steel on most of this chain. So, it's garbage.
This is where the gypsy goes. John's going to get this all cleaned up and install the new one that will take a 10 millimeter chain. We're upgrading our chain.
Then I have to run the chain. Oh no, I can still drop the chain all the way in there and then run it around this thing.
Oh, that was easy peasy.
We put 80 meters of anchor chain into that poor little rental car.
What can I do to help?
I think I just collapsed the front of it.
So the other end of that line is tied to the anchor, correct?
No, it's just a loop tied over to where the anchor goes so that I can pull this anchor up to the windlass.
Pull the chain up to the windlass?
Yes, I can pull the chain up to the windlass and then run it through the wind gypsy, stack it all on board, and then I'll get to the end and I'll put the anchor on the end. Okay, now I'm going to go over there and pull this chain up. If you can kind of lift it over this edge.
Lift it and feed it out overboard?
Just so we don't scratch this all up
Yeah,
real bad.
because it's already
until I get it to over there.
scratched up. Okay, so we got all that chain out of there. Used the gypsy. Use the gypsy to pull it up from underneath. Then John took the other end and we walked it around the front here. He had the anchor stored. Now he's got his swivel to attach that chain to the anchor.
Putting Loctite on the threads. So the swivel don't come out.
Thank you for watching. Let us know if you have any questions about what you've seen. And join us next time as we move the boat from Hout Bay to Cape Town.